Welcome into A Toast to Film, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Trey.
And I'm one of your hosts, E Bo.
Guys, we have a phenomenal episode for y'all today with some phenomenal movies in the mix. I cannot wait to break them down and give y'all our opinions and our love for each. So, Eddie, why don't you tell the viewers what we got for them today?
Let me tell y'all, if you are a fan of people shooting guns, do we have the episode for you? Because we will be talking about 3 movies where people are shooting things. We have Black Bag, Espionage.
Mm-hmm.
We have The Amateur, Espionage,
Yep.
where the guy in the chair is doing the espionage.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Warfare, where you just kind of strap in and are just like this the whole movie. We'll get into that. We're working our way up. Don't y'all worry.
Absolutely.
But, you know, at the time of this recording, the Masters are going on. They're in the final round. Rory McIlroy is posed to win, barring a really bad breakdown.
Yeah.
And, you know, so we got the Masters. We want something classy. We got a bunch of espionage.
Absolutely.
So we did some nice old fashions, you know.
Hey.
Trey over here, he supplied the whiskey Eagles Rare. Always great.
Love Eagles Rare.
Smells good. Let me give it a little tasty taste.
But when we think of espionage, you think of classy drinks, you know. So we had to rock with a old fashioned. And man, you can't beat them. You know, these are so drinkable.
Meow.
So why don't we dive right into Black Bag?
Okay, so this is from our boy Steven Soderbergh, who, you know, he's done a lot of films through years. Very long career. I mean, Ocean's Trilogy, Haywire, Contagion, Side Effects, which I'm a big fan of, Aaron Brockovich. And dude, the writer, David Koepp, one of the most legendary writers in all of Hollywood. He wrote Indiana Jones 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Not the most loved, but still Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
He wrote Zathura. He wrote Spider-Man 1.
Man.
He wrote Mission Impossible 1.
Yeah.
And he wrote the first 2 Jurassic Parks.
Yeah.
And this is their 3rd film together. They did Kimmy. Not the best movie.
Right.
They did Presents, which came out earlier this year. That one, the ghost movie from the ghost point of view.
Yes.
And then Black Bag.
He's been on a run.
They've been on a run. And this has married couple. Michael Fassbender, who plays George Woodhouse. And Kate Blanchett, who plays Catherine St. John.
Right.
And let's just say something's afoot.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out, wait a minute. Could my wife be a spy? Is the husband... You know, like a dirty spy, I mean, because they are spies.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, is my wife a bad spy? Am I the bad spy?
Well,
one of their friends?
What I love about this movie is this is the classic web of lies type story that we get, which is great, right? I mean, this is what we want in an espionage type movie with high stakes, which there are. But this movie's so intimate.
Very.
It is a group of colleagues that work together. They all have motives, which I think is very crucial in a movie like this. And it is essentially Michael Fassbender has this ability to really figure out who is the perpetrator and what is the core behind it. And this movie starts you just right into the thick of it. They give you the 6 groups, you know, the 6 people right in the forefront of the movie. And you're trying to figure out, okay, which one could do it. And they're all spies, right? They're all
levels of spies.
Yes.
They all do different things for this agency. And rounding out the 6, we got our boy Tom Burke playing Freddie Smalls. You might know him as Praetorian Jack and Furiosa. We got Marissa Abela, who plays Clarissa Dubois. She was Amy Winehouse in the Back to Black movie.
Yep.
Our boy Reggie Jean Page plays Colonel James Stokes. He was the Duke in Bridgerton. Zink in Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah. Could easily be the next James Bond.
And Naomi Harris, Dr. Zoe Vaughn, who was Moneypenny in the Daniel Craig Bonds and was also Dr. Kate in Rampage.
So, I mean, we're talking a stacked cast here. Everyone that can hold your attention on screen.
Pierce Brosnan's also in it.
I mean, look, the
side character,
the spy master himself, you know. But Black Bag was such a fun experience. I mean, if you really like espionage and you like a whodunit, but not in like a murder mystery, in like, all right, everyone's still alive. We need to figure out who is the one that's committed treason here.
Yeah.
And it's really good. Everyone wants to protect their own image. They want to protect their own career. And first and foremost, the traitor wants to protect his identity. So,
or her identity.
Absolutely. So
I like that it keeps you on your toes about who it could be. You know, there's a lot of things going on, and Michael Fassbender, he is on top of everything.
Well, and I think what's very cool about this movie is you don't know who's going to win.
Yeah.
It's a very hard-nosed type realistic movie where you're like, the bad guys could easily win, the good guy could win, and you also don't really know the true motive of anybody. I mean, because like we said,
Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, you don't know really Michael Fassbender's true intentions. Cate Blanchett's. I mean, we don't know if she's good or if she's bad. And it is a movie I could watch again and again with different crowds because I want to see.
It would be interesting to watch with different crowds. Let me say, if I can be a guy for 2 seconds. If it pleases the court, can I just be a guy for 2 seconds?
Absolutely.
Cate Blanchett getting better looking as the years go on.
I can agree with that.
I was like, golly.
I can agree with that.
She's, nearing 60, and she just is defying age.
Well, and they played the role. She played the role perfectly. And, I got to say, the thing that I love the most about Black Bag is the dynamic between Michael Fassbender and Cate Blanchett. When it comes down to it, that's what the movie's about, and it pays dividends, in my opinion.
No, it really does, especially when you take into fact there's a 10-year age gap.
Right.
But when looking at them, they play him up.
Yes.
So much older, so much more established, and they kind of play her down.
Right.
She has her hair flowing. She's wearing these, nice little outfits.
Right.
And their dynamic, you're like, okay, they love each other, but do they trust each other?
Yeah.
And, it's very apparent. Like, there's this one scene where, he's, with her in the bed, and she's like, would you kill for me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it is interesting, that layer of trust.
Yeah.
Or not layer of
or
trust.
layer of distrust.
Yeah, layer of distrust. But it was a fantastic movie. I highly recommend people going and seeing this movie, because I also want to make this point. We got a slew since the beginning of March of original content. We all have the same complaints. There's no original movies nowadays. It's remake after reboot. And it,
based on a book, based on, a remake, a reboot, a late sequel.
Exactly. And we got a great run since March where we've had Novocaine, Black Bag, we've had Warfare, not even the Amateur can be in that group, because that was a remake.
That was a remake.
I highly recommend these movies to the viewers, because I want people to go out and support these, because this is how we're going to continue to get original content, in the movie industry.
Especially when it's good, because I was looking through, my notes for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We had Woman in the Yard, that was original, but it wasn't good.
Right.
We had Death of a Unicorn, original, not good.
Right.
Hell of a Summer, original, not good. But Black Bag is a very well acted. This is
dialogued.
It's an adult movie.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is not like it's a porno or anything.
Right.
I mean, this is a movie for adults to enjoy.
It's
a very mature drama.
You have to pay attention to every facet of this movie. If you go to the bathroom, you've missed something. And
you've missed something important.
You've missed something important. You have to follow along, and you are doing the spy work with Michael Fassbender, and you are trying to figure this out. So it is adult in that sense, and it's a very mature writing. This is not a movie even, I really don't even think early 20s would almost appreciate. You know what I mean?
I mean, maybe if they have like an older soul,
yeah.
then, but
it requires, I'll say this, it requires attention span.
there's not car chases, there's not bang bang.
Right.
You know, like I said, we're working our way up to bang bang in this episode. But Trey, we've been talking about this. What would you rate this for the viewers on a scale of 1 to 5 cheers?
This is a solid. I've thought about this pretty hard, especially because we've had some time to let the dust settle. This movie is a 4.6 out of 5 cheers. I absolutely love Black Bag. It's certainly going to be in the top 13 of the year for me, but I also love Espionage, you know, so this comes from a place of love, but I think for an original story, it was one of the best, had a fantastic payoff. Dialogue was A+, acting was A+, and again, a tight-knit story that I really just have to tip my hat to the writers, you know? So, yeah.
David Koepp.
Yeah, exactly. So, 4.6 for me.
I'm at a 3.9.
Oh, okay.
You know, Espionage isn't my bag.
No,
no pun intended.
I'm honestly happy to hear that.
But I think the ending is great. I think the beginning with the dinner is great.
Yes.
There's some stuff in the middle where, you know, it's just not my cup of tea. You know, I'm not mature enough. I'm telling you all this now. But the acting, the writing, and like I said, I do really appreciate the payoff.
Yes.
The dinner scene at the end, that's the big payoff.
Yes.
I feel you do get enough where I'm willing to give it 3.9.
I'm very happy to hear that.
Could end up in my honorable mention.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be top 13 just because Espionage isn't for me so much. But
and that's valid.
I do think this movie is very worth seeing, and I highly suggest y'all check it out.
Yeah, man. Really, honestly, really happy to hear your rating. Because like I said, I know you're not an Espionage guy. So to hear that it's close to a 4 right there at the cusp makes me very happy. So that should let the audience know how good this movie is, you know?
So next up, we're going from some professionals to an amateur. That's how the director said it.
You know, here's the way to say it. We're going from professional to analytical because this man is in analytics.
Well, so we got this is from director James Hawes, who directed The Mist.
Yeah,
which you would never know if you watched this movie.
No, you wouldn't.
We got Rami Malek playing Heller.
Yeah,
you know, from Mr. Robot himself. We got Rachel Brosnan as Sarah. That's his wife. She's you might know her from The Marvelous Miss Maisel. On Amazon.
And the new Lois Lane and the new Superman, you know.
We got John Bernthal, you know, plays the bear, the Punisher himself. We'll get into him because he had one of my favorite scenes in the movie. We got Holt McElhaney, who plays Director Moore. You know, he's been doing stuff ever since Fight Club.
Yeah.
And old Lawrence Fishburne plays Henderson, Morpheus himself.
Yeah. Great job. Great casting for these parts and great roles.
Honestly. So basically, Rami Malek, he's the guy in the chair.
Yeah.
You know, he's sitting there.
Yeah.
You know, for the CIA.
Yeah, he's in analytics and decoding.
And his wife gets killed while she's overseas for a business conference.
Right.
And he's like, I mean, it's been 2 days. Y'all ain't caught them.
Yeah.
Here's where they at. Like, this chick's buying bread here. Like, homeboys here. Like, I need results. And they're like, And he's like, okay, I'll do it myself.
What I love about this is it makes sense on both levels, governmental, but also on a personal level. The government wants to kind of dangle the grape to get the bigger fruit.
Yeah.
So they're letting this play out. Whereas Rami Malek is like, I don't want this play out. They killed my wife. I want answers now. I want results.
Yeah, the government wants the whole collective.
Exactly.
Not just these 4 players.
Right.
But he's like, yeah, guess what? The collective didn't shoot my wife in the head in the middle of London Street.
Absolutely.
So he's after it. Dude, I will say, I really liked seeing them as a couple at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because they, you know, they make sense.
Yeah.
Because you can tell, like, okay, she's like this sweet person who just wants somebody nice.
Yeah.
And he needed somebody that's going to like have him get his life together because all he knows is coding. He doesn't know how to operate in the real world.
Right. Well, and I think what was cool about this is, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but there's something that happens in the beginning when he's talking to his wife, and they circle back on that at the very end, but they didn't jam it down your throat.
Yeah.
They had a very, very eloquent way to say why he didn't do something, which I appreciated. I felt like that added to the writing a little bit. And it gave the ending a little bit more emotional punch. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
I gotta say, I like that they made it seem where like, okay, this guy's an amateur, and he's not an agent. Like he's not somebody that could fight you,
right?
But he's smart.
Yes,
and he knows how to do certain things well, and so he can find these people, and then he ends up killing them in different ways. You know, maybe it's not him killing them.
Yeah,
and I thought that was cool. You probably saw this coming, my boy, because you know me. I did have one thing though.
Flashbacks.
I was like, okay, do we need all these? They're not so much flashbacks. They're like him imagining if he had took a trip with his wife. I was like, I don't know how to feel about this, because this is not I don't like flashbacks like this.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I get it, because he never went on a trip with his wife.
Right.
So he's like imagining how they would be.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, okay, we can do like less.
I actually agree with that. Normally flashbacks don't bother me, but I think they could have toned it down.
They
just
did
a
like
notch.
10 or 11.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, okay, if you want to do 3, let's say 3 in the whole movie, sure. But when you're doing over 10, it's getting a little too much.
It did feel like they were trying to force the emotional impact when it's like, okay, we already understand this. This is really just a revenge movie at heart.
Yeah, we like saw him at the beginning, like how much he loves his wife.
But let's talk about some good here, because that's a valid point, and that's also a con of mine. But if we dive into the good, I want to say a couple of things. One, the budget was more impressive than I thought.
Yeah,
it was a lot more impressive. We saw multiple locations. We had explosions. We had beautiful like aerial camera shots.
We had a lot of gunfire.
It felt, this movie, when I saw the ad for The Amateur, I thought this was going to be a little bit more by the number. You know what I mean? It like the trailer kind of felt by the number. When I got done with the movie, it's not quite Bourne level for the Bourne lovers and the espionage spy lovers, but it reminded me a lot of Bourne. And I'm telling you, Bourne is always a step ahead, and it's not always about the fighting with Bourne, even though he brings that. But with Rami Malek, he is also always a step ahead. And I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting more amateur hour, where like he might make some mistakes.
No pun intended.
But he actually didn't make mistakes. Everything was like thought out.
I think he did make some mistakes. Like there's a scene at the bar with him and Lawrence Fishburne.
I thought that was planned out too.
See, I don't think that was necessarily planned out, but I think he just has such a mind that he sees everything as a puzzle, and he's able to figure out a way out of it. So even when he makes a mistake, he's like, okay, to be fair, I shouldn't have done this. However, I know by doing this, I'm good.
100% agree. Yeah, no, the chase scene, he was anticipating that. But I think as he was going to that one bar that so-and-so was going to meet him up at, he already had his gears turning. He was like, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to get out of it. But he's a quick thinker. He's witty.
He's very quick.
Like Eddie said, he might not have a plan, but while he's on the run, he's coming up with one. And like I said, I think it's just very important to note that this movie was at a higher level than I thought based on the trailer. It brought more. I was having a really good time watching the movie. It was really fun. I feel like everyone was having a good time with it. And I wouldn't be surprised for a sequel. I don't know if they would do one, especially
I don't know where they would go with the story.
I don't either. I think it would be more of a career driven story, like, hey, you are
maybe
like this is
I
what
would be
you're good
worried
at.
what they would do with this. But
Yeah.
I will say, if they did, they need John Bernthal in it.
Yeah.
Because John Bernthal, he has a great scene with him and Rami Malek late in the movie. Because John Bernthal, he is like the spy. He's like, you know, the man that you send places to, you know, take out people. And that scene, he's just so funny because he's just walking into this bar, you know, middle of nowhere. He speaks their language. And you're just like, yeah, of course he knows their language, knows what to order, all that
stuff. He would, because he's a spy for the CIA. So he would be trained for that. But movie was really solid. Do we want to dive in on the Cheers review?
I think so.
Okay.
Where are you sitting at?
So I've thought about this long and hard, and I also have Spencer's Cheer review as well.
Oh, yeah. We saw it with a Spencer, Trey's mom, Trey's dad. Dude, Trey's dad had me in tears because this mug, we saved him literally the aisle seat, and he's trying to come into the row, like to, I guess, go on the other side of Spencer. And we're like, no, sit down. What are you doing?
He could not see. But I have thought long and hard about this movie. I think this movie is right at a 3.9.
Oh, okay. My boy loves espionage. So besides the flashbacks, I do have some issues with the pacing where to me it felt long at points.
That's fair. For a guy who's not into espionage.
I'm not into espionage. We've established this with Black Bag.
Yeah.
I've come up from last night, though. I've come up from my rating. I'm sitting at a 3.4 right now.
Okay, that's solid.
I think, you know, it's not quite 70%, but I definitely put in passing according to Rotten Tomatoes standard. I think the movie's fun. I think it would be really good to watch, you know, once it hits streaming, if you don't want to go to theaters.
Yeah. This isn't a theater movie.
I love the ending. There's an ending that takes place at a certain place with like the head of the bad guys.
Yeah.
I thought that scene played out really well.
I did too. And I will say, I understand where Eddie's coming from. The movie, you know, is a longer movie than I thought. Now, for Eddie's point, I agree. You know, I could see where, you know, that might drag for some people. For me, it was actually an exceeded expectations moment where I was like, okay, they put more into this movie than I thought. Like it was like they added some side characters that were more impactful than I realized. You know, they added 20 minutes more of deep diving into a certain storyline or plot line. Like it actually worked out pretty well for me. But yeah, so I do agree it's a 3.9 for me. Spencer actually had it at a 4.3.
Yeah.
She really enjoyed it. She said that she was really rooting for Rami Malek. She really liked the storyline. She liked that he was always a step ahead. And the movie worked for her. So, so
that's high praise, man. 4.3 is nothing to spit out.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I was just getting live updates. So Justin Rose making a comeback for the Masters. He's tied with Rory McIlroy at the moment.
Oh my God.
And here's the bad thing. Here's the thing though. Justin Rose has 2 holes to go. Rory has 5.
Yeah, so he can catch up.
So he could easily, because they're tied at the moment. So live update from the Masters just for y'all. You know, we're in Georgia, so we gotta keep y'all posted. We
have to give you some love from the Masters,
but Trey, you know, we watched Black Bag, very intellectual, you know, very nice little drama, well written. We talked about Amateur, some of that, but then more action.
Right.
Well, what if you just want action that has you just like laying in your chair once it starts and you're just like, God.
Let me tell y'all, if y'all have not seen Warfare, run to the IMAX to see it. It's like, and I'm not saying there is movies you do not need to see the Amateur in theaters, period. No. You do not need to see Black Bag. I would like for y'all to.
No, you need to see Black Bag because original, good original.
Yeah. I mean, we want y'all to see movies in theaters because we love
for the
theaters.
Experience is what Trey's getting at.
For the experience, you could see this at home,
and it would be just as good experience.
It'd be just as good. That is not the case for Warfare.
Well, hold on, before you get into
not the case.
Let me just say a couple of things.
Woo!
So this is from writer-director Ray Mendoza, who is a Silver Star recipient when he was a Navy SEAL in Iraq.
Yeah.
A Silver Star is for gallantry in action. That's how you receive that. The co-writer was Alex Garland, who, I mean, that's our boy. You know, he was the writer-director of Civil War, Annihilation, Ex Machina. He was the writer 28 Days and Years Later and Dread. So was this 2006 or 2016?
2006.
2006, Navy SEALs in Iraq. This is based on his memory of something. And, you know, there's a lot of people. I'm not going to go through it all, but if I can, see, there's a lot of people in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Will Poulter is one of the, you know, bigger names. DeFaro Win Tai is a big one. Joseph Quinn. You know, a lot of great actors, but I need to tell y'all two things so y'all can get ready for what we're about to start gushing over, because we just left the theater.
Yeah.
Came right here. One, there is no score in this movie. There's no sound other than natural sounds.
Right.
Dogs barking.
In the very beginning.
Missiles go. Well, we don't count that. You know, the very beginning, it opens up.
The very beginning was great.
Well, it's good, though, because it shows you, like, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Because it shows you something that I'm very big on.
Yeah.
With this. But, so, like, gunfire, explosions. I mean, just somebody picking up a gun. These noises are amplified so much because there's no score. There's just whatever sounds would be occurring.
Right.
This movie, an hour and a half. And if I'm not mistaken, runtimes include credits. So we're talking about like an hour, 10 minutes, hour 20, 15.
Lean and mean.
Yeah. And so you start out, it's them watching a mixtape, and they're all like, you know, they're getting pumped to go on this mission. And then you're right into the mission. They break into someone's house. They're checking somebody. And for us who have seen the trailer, we're waiting for the pin to drop.
Yes. And
let me tell you something, friendos. When that pin drops, it is louder than you expect. And you never get to breathe. Trey said it best, you are immersed with these SEALs. You're just sitting in your chair like, oh, God.
Yeah. I'm still shook up from this movie. I mean, this is not for the faint of heart. I mean, look, even the strongest of military that are serving our country right now might not even want to see this movie. It is so realistic that it made me think, if I was a soldier, I don't think I could see this movie. It was so realistic.
Friend of the show who's appeared, Tyson, he served in Iraq. He doesn't watch war movies because he doesn't want to think about that.
Yeah.
I would never invite him to this because the thing with this movie
traumatizing, man,
is it's so realistic because they built the sets. Everything's practical effects. The wounds are just, even if you're not squeamish, you still might get squeamish because they're so real and natural looking, and the people have such natural reactions. You know, someone gets injured and they're just screaming for 10 minutes. And if this was like somebody who's just making a movie, you know, they wouldn't have that because they want to make sure you can hear the dialogue or whatever. But with like Ray Mendoza, he's like, look, I'm giving y'all a movie where you are going to see what it's like to be, you know, a Navy SEAL when it goes bad. So somebody screaming because like their legs got blown to bits, they're not going to stop screaming for the sake of the movie. And that person didn't they were screaming for like 20 minutes.
I think the thing about this movie is we just see young men trying to protect our country that are just that, young men, and
very young.
And the movie humanized them in such a way where it's like, man, I cannot believe that we send these soldiers over to do this type of work at, I mean, they're still young. I mean, and these guys, like, we saw the fear in their eyes, just like we would have the fear in our eyes if we were put in that position. I was rattled in that movie.
Yeah.
I felt like I was in Iraq and I'm shaken up. I mean, this movie is intense, guys.
It's intense, but one thing I really appreciate from Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland is, a lot of times with these war movies, you have the heroes, and the villains, and you have like, lots of deaths and all this stuff, and you're showing, you're glorifying. This movie didn't do that. This movie presents these guys as humans. They're just dudes, and they are trying to survive. They have people shooting at them. They have people throwing IEDs, grenades, and they're just trying to live.
Eddie said it best, and I think that's what's so important about this film. It doesn't show anyone as the heroes or the villains. It's not saying America's good, Iranians are bad.
Iraqis.
Or Iraqis. This was in Iraq.
Ramadan, I believe.
But this, it just shows that these are people in a war, and war is bad. And the fact is that this movie, I kind of went into this movie blind. I saw the trailer once, but the trailer never told us anything.
No, the trailer, you're just like, okay, like
this is an intense
you're
movie.
expecting like a Saving Private Ryan, where you're going to get like a lot of story, a lot of development, and you just don't get it. These are just dudes on one mission. It goes bad. They're trying to survive. They're fighting for their lives. And I really appreciate that. Like,
I did too.
And like they show some stuff at the end of the movie where like actual Navy SEALs were there. The people. So this movie, every character is based off somebody that Ray Mendoza served with. And a couple of them were there, and they're like showing them like, okay, when we break out in formation, this is how you need to look. And it just, every aspect of this movie was treated with such care. To present people as humans. To present people as people just doing their job, trying to live. And it's very graphic. Like I said, though, they don't show like people getting shot or anything. They just show bad things happening and how people react. And it's very natural.
It is. This movie, like we said, this movie is just about warfare. I mean, it literally just, the title's perfect. It is just about warfare. There's not one protagonist you feel like is the hero and one protagonist you feel like is the villain. These are just two parties fighting each other. This movie is about survival, and this movie is about extraction. That is all there is. And
things go bad, you just want to get out of there. You don't care. And you got the gunfire is so loud. You got the explosions are so loud. You got the intercom. At one point, like one of the characters after an explosion, he's like just trying to figure out where he is, and the intercom's going crazy, and he unplugs it.
And then you have just random conversations. You've got a room full of army soldiers all trying to figure out what to do.
You have the families that they broke into the house of. You got random people outside. You got dogs barking. You got missiles going off in the distance, like the night shot you saw, like things being launched.
There is plenty of times in this movie, I don't know if you felt like this, but there's, especially when you're just overstimulated with how much is going on. There's gunshots going off outside, bombs going off outside,
people yelling,
show
people
of forces.
So show of force, I didn't know this was a thing, as just like a dude who's like not military at all. I didn't know show of force was a thing. So basically show of force, they're like, okay, we can't fire on your location. Do a show of force, where basically they have the plane come super low, like literally right above the houses, and just fly by, go in full speed. So it just like shakes all the houses. Yeah. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, it was such a cool moment, and honestly, it had a lot of practicality. I understand why they do it, but there's just so much going on in the movie that you really have so much admiration for these soldiers, because it would take nothing as a soldier in that situation to just get in a corner and get in the fetal position, because you were just scared to death and you just want to drown out the sound and think of a happy place,
and we saw not a fetal position, but we saw a couple people where they were just so immobilized, not by fear,
right,
but just too much happening at once. People shooting at you,
absolutely,
people blowing up. Real quick, let me just list off all the guys, because the acting in this movie is extraordinary.
It is.
Like, all these guys, whether it's somebody you know or don't know, but DeFaro Wunatai, Cosmo Jarvis, Aaron McKenzie, Finn Bennett, Michael Gandolfini, Laurie Duncan, Aaron Deakins, Kit Connor, Taylor John Smith, Aiden Bradley, Noah Centineo, Henrique Zaga, Jake Lampert, Joe McCauley, Evan Holtzman, Alex Brockdorf, Joseph Quinn, our boy, and Will Poulter.
Yeah. And here's the thing. With Will Poulter and Joseph Quinn being such versatile actors, all these guys were same level acting.
Yeah.
This was a phenomenal job.
There was no one that didn't fit. There was no one that outshined everybody.
Right.
This was a group of brothers that were just, they're like, okay, this is what goes. And what I like is, even though these are like Navy SEALs, sometimes in movies they like make Navy SEALs like, okay, we're, tough badasses. Yeah. Nothing can stop us. Shoot all you want at me.
Yeah.
But in this one, they're so humanized where they're like, okay, this is the training. Let's do this. Let's do this. Yeah. And they're like, kind of like, trying to get themselves together.
Yeah.
While trying to follow what they know they should do. Well, they're just shooting guns, but they're like, I don't know.
Well, this movie just does such a good job of doing a stress test, right?
Yeah.
So these men are having to think under mounds of pressure, and it just does such a realistic job of showing that. They're trying to think tactically, practically, while there's bullets flying through the walls, bombs going off outside, and they have to reel in everyone. There has to be a leader. What if the leader's shaken? That's something that came up as well in the movie.
Yeah, and they bring that up.
And so you have to have people that are willing to step in, step up, and they just did such a phenomenal job across the board. I can't say enough good things about this movie. I mean, the ratings on Rotten Tomato are extremely valid. Do not let anyone say otherwise. And again, if you want an intense war movie, this could be the most intense war movie I've ever seen.
I would put this as the most intense war movie.
Yeah.
And we were talking about original content. Like, this is an original story based on stuff that happens from somebody who was in the thick of it.
Right.
And I'm just going to go ahead and jump in, because I need people to see this movie. We looked at the weekend numbers, only 8 million. Like, we got to get those numbers.
Yeah.
Like, this movie, the acting is good enough. The tenseness is good enough. It's crazy because how tense it is.
Yeah.
But I would actually say decent amount of replay value.
Yeah.
Just because it's so well done with practical effects and acting.
Yeah. You could watch it again with others.
I'm going to give it a 4.6 out of 5 cheers.
Wow.
I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna say I enjoyed the experience, because I'm like sitting in my like I look at Trey a couple of times. I was like, Jesus,
this movie was one. This is a movie I will not forget.
The explosions in IMAX. Holy cow! God. They take your breath away. They're so loud.
They really.
But Ray Mendoza, Alex Garland, they brought us something truly special in the war movies.
Right.
Where like this and 1917, I hold as like what war movie should aim for.
I completely agree. I mean,
1917 for story.
Yeah.
This for like
realism.
You're in the thick of it.
Yes, absolutely.
But what would you give it, my boy?
This movie, funny enough, I also give a 4.6 too.
That's what I'm talking about.
Was just so good. And that's why I was smiling when you said your rating. I was like, wow, that's right where I was at. This movie was so good. It's a movie that will stick with me. A war movie I will never forget.
Yeah.
And after Alex Garland has written Civil War and now this, I thought sci-fi was his move. Now I'm kind of wondering if war might be his bag. You know?
It's going to be interesting to see because, we still got 28 years later coming out.
Yeah.
Also, one thing I'll say, me and Trey are physical media collectors.
Yes.
When I saw A24 come on screen before the movie started, I was like,
yeah,
because you know what that means.
An A24
at Barnes and Noble.
Yep.
We're gonna get a beautiful A24 release of Warfare. We better.
Yeah.
Ray Mendoza, I'll find you.
We need it, man. It was great. Well, before we end the segment, let's do this because this will be interesting to take.
Okay.
Rank these 3 movies first to last, starting in third place.
Third place, Amateur.
Yes. Okay.
Second place, Black Bag.
Okay.
First place, Warfare.
Totally valid. Totally valid. For me, third place, Amateur.
Mm-hmm.
Second place, Warfare.
I saw this coming.
And first place, Black Bag.
I know what my boy likes.
But here's the thing. Both of those movies got a 4.6 for me.
That is true.
I
when you said 4.6, I was like, oh, that's what he gave Black Bag. Okay.
So both extremely right there on par. It's just Black Bag. I think I could watch a little bit more. You know what I mean?
And also, live update. Justin Rose through 17 is 10 under. Ludwig Aberg 10 under. Roy McIlroy 10 under. We got a 3-way tie for first.
No way.
It's going to be interesting. Scotty's right there too, 8 under. So, we got a few interested. We're going to go watch this, but check out Black Bag if it's still in your theaters or at least when it comes to streaming. Check out the Amateur. We're big theater guys, but Amateur you could wait to streaming. See Warfare in theaters.
Please,
like
IMAX.
The love that Ray Mendoza put into this movie, the realness, like Trey said, the IMAX experience. If this is in 40X, I say put on a seatbelt if your 40X has a seatbelt, because if IMAX was that loud and wild, I could only imagine if you're getting jostled by the explosions. But great movies all around, all passing scores today. Good episode,
really good scores.
Espionage and Warfare. That's all we need.
That's right.
If you want to let us know what you think, or let us know anything we need to check out, there's a lot of things. Maybe we missed something, maybe not. But there's multiple ways you can do it. Check us out on Instagram and TikTok, A Toast of Film, all one word. Check us out on Twitter at film_toast, or check us out on beautiful YouTube. Look at this clean shaven face.
I mean,
look at this shirt. I had a gentleman also in a Hawaiian shirt gave me a compliment.
Little visual with the audio.
No big deal. I also got my master's hat on. No big deal. But also make sure to like and subscribe. Send a comment. I read every comment. I will respond to you.
Yeah.
If you like the shirt, if you don't like the shirt. But we just want to wish you a good night
and good viewing.
Bam.